I'm sure you've heard, but GM just shattered their expectations of speed while testing the upcoming 1,064 horsepower twin-turbo Corvette ZR1. Yeah, this sounds ridiculous, and I have no doubt many will find themselves in prison on behalf of this car, but what can you drive right now? That is a C8 Corvette Z06, and it has 670 horsepower. It's pushing the limits too, but just in a much more reasonable way. We've all become so numb to power these days that I wonder if the Z06 has already gone a bit stale. Let's find out. Oh yeah, there we go, you guys. Jesse's installed these kind of butterfly style doors. Ah, thanks, VIP service right here.
This thing's actually pretty heavy when you're in the car to like get down.
Oh, really?
And even to lift too, like lifting. I mean, it's a.
Oh yeah, that's how you got the way you are, you know.
These doors were never meant to be vertical doors, so they're heavy, you know.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
You know?
All right, here we go. Woo. We are in for something today. First impression, C8 Z06. First of all, thank you, Jesse, for allowing me some seat time. A couple brief moments of seat time in the C8 Z06. Now, 670 horsepower, where does that come from? Obviously, naturally aspirated V8, 5.5 liters. You guys probably already know, but the most powerful naturally aspirated production V8 ever built, and that's kind of a turning point for the Corvette. It goes against the grain in every way when you compare it to, I don't know, modern supercars, something like that Maserati MC20. But it is worth noting that, yeah, cars like the Ferrari 296, the McLaren Artura, and the MC20 have gone V6, they've gone turbo. Yeah, while some of those cars are hybrid, the Ferrari and the McLaren, yeah, the Corvette has kind of squeezed the last remaining performance out of the V8, and that is a huge deal, I feel, in creating a car that will last among enthusiasts. Now, GM says this car is built for purists. That is on their website. Yeah, the square steering wheel, no, that was not a good move, GM. That's like trying to grasp onto like an inanimate object, some strange, ever-changing object when the wheel is moving. But what do we have? Where's the red line? Let's find out. Michelin Pilot Sport 4S is on here, really grippy tire. 345s in the back, 275s up front, and a ton of aero. Wow, 6,500 RPM, and I have thousands of RPM left to play with. Wow. Yep, feel the rear tires stick back there coming into the corner. That sound is something else. Sharp steering. So basically right now, my drive mode is set to what Jesse has his custom mode set to, which is touring steering, so a lighter steering setup, very Ferrari-esque, we'll get to that later. And then his suspension, engine sound, throttle response is all in the most intense setting. So effectively we have very responsive throttle here. I mean, the best part is the throttle response and the sound so far. Wow. You know, if you're sitting here thinking that, hey, the red line's so high, the torque is pushed up, you're not gonna have torque at 3,500. That's just not the case. And the gears are shorter here. So it revs up so quick. So if you hit the throttle at 3,000 RPM, you're at, 5,000, 6,000 in second. There you go. That was 3,000 to 7,000 RPM. The C8, as far as interior quality, as far as ride quality goes, daily drivability, is exceptional. The C8 is like such a cut above the C7. You guys already know that. Yeah, he's got a full titanium exhaust back there that sounds raspy. Now, I'm not getting as much like kind of vibrations through the seat and through the steering as I would have expected. It is very smooth. It's, you know, I think soft might be the wrong word. If this is the stiffest suspension setting, which Jesse told me that's what his custom mode is set to, this is incredible. It's incredible. I mean, I'm feeling all the little small stuff, but the car isn't getting tossed around at all. Now, we are on a fairly smooth road here, but nonetheless. Big kick on the 1-2. So much grip. I mean, you need a track for this car as far as cornering grip to really squeeze the most out of it. And this one does not have the Z07 package. It doesn't have the huge wing on the back, the extra aero bits. I mean, it revs up so quickly. I missed redline there. I just can't believe the contrast between this and the C6 or C7 Z06. 10 years ago, the Z06 and ZR1 were similar cars with varying degrees of testosterone. Fast forward, and today, there might be room for both of these cars in the same garage. Time will tell. 670 horsepower in this form, with urgency from the engine to rev and build power on the way to 8,600 RPM, is so manageable on the street. It revs lightning quick and makes power everywhere, but somehow everything feels somewhat isolated and cushy on the street. Good feel, but you just might forget what you're driving once you hit the freeway. This is why C5 Z06 values are holding so strong right now. It's rough, it's lightweight, versus just piling on more power and more weight, which rings true both in this car and the upcoming ZR1. Is more always better? You tell me. More revs though? I'll take it. The engine is unforgettable. It screams. You know, these people who like to harken back to the quote-unquote good old days of F1, this is for them. Served on a silver platter at a fraction of the price of anything else like it. Resonance when you come off throttle is ridiculous. Absolutely insane. It's got such a high-pitched noise. I mean, I don't think I've ever driven a car that sounds quite like this. From a Chevy. From Bowling Green, Kentucky. The last car I would have expected to come here. It's manageable though, you know, it's easily accessible, you know, compared to something like a stroked out cam C6 Z06 that just, you know, you get on the torque at the wrong moment coming out of a corner and you're gonna end up in a ditch, right? Your throttle discipline has to be so on point in a car like this, whereas here, it's a little bit more kind of forgiving. You have a little bit more of a window where you can play of, hey, okay, I've gone through this corner a few times, maybe I can get on the throttle a little bit earlier here. and kind of play with what gear you want to be in, because peak torque is way up in the rev band. I believe it's about 4,600 RPM for peak torque, which is way higher than something like a CT5V Blackwing with a huge supercharger stuffed onto a 6.2 liter V8, right? And that brings me to another point, and please let me know what you guys think in the comments below. There is no reason why GM shouldn't have built this with a manual transmission. I mean, aside from the fact that, yeah, the shifter would be in a weird position, it would not work with this interior. That's one thing, but just like on paper, you think this has got less torque than the CT5V Blackwing. The torque comes on way higher. So like I mentioned, it's manageable, but then it just builds and builds and builds, and it you don't realize how fast you're going until you're at 8,600 RPM. And GM has put manual transmissions on much more insane cars. The C7 ZR1, when this car came out, the C8 back in 2020, the take rate for the manual version of the car would have been, what, 5-10%, probably less than that, honestly. 911s are different. The take rate's a little bit higher because that's just who buys 911s. But now times have kind of changed because manuals have gone away. People are like, hey, wait, we actually wanted that. Well, you guys didn't buy them. You guys didn't buy them. But what that's left open is a segment of like very high dollar cars, limited production in some cases, that come with manual transmissions, and people are willing to pay an incredible amount to get that experience. You know, the upcoming ZR1, like I mentioned, twin turbo, 1,000 plus horsepower. That with a manual would be like, okay, no one really wants that, I don't think. I could be wrong. The Z06 would be perfect with a manual transmission. Not to say it's not fun and capable and raw without it. Let's go talk to Jesse. Let's get his take on the car after owning it for a few years. Good to see you, Jesse.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for bringing the car out.
Yeah, most definitely.
So, if people don't know who you are, we shot a video that maybe people saw, maybe they didn't, years and years ago.
Years ago.
Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so my name is Jesse Iwuji. I live out here in Southern California, originally from Dallas, Texas. I'm actually a reservist in the United States Navy now. I was active duty for 7 years, been in reserves the last 7. But I also race part-time in NASCAR. I've been racing for about 9 years now. Started off in the lower levels in late model stock cars and slowly worked my way up over time. And now I'm in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. I have a team as well. We race part-time. And yeah, just a huge car enthusiast, love all kind of cars. Obviously, I'm a huge Chevy guy, but I have other cars as well. And yeah, I just enjoy always doing car stuff when I can. This is VIN 34.
That's
so
crazy.
This was in the first 50, 100 cars, whatever that they built, this was like right in there. So it was a huge blessing to have the opportunity to do that. Big thanks to my partnership with GM and Chevy and stuff to make that happen. And also have an E-Ray as well, C8 E-Ray, which is VIN 34 as well. And yeah, this car has been just amazing. Ever since I got it, I was like, this thing is truly a supercar. It's an animal, it's a monster, has all the power in the world, all the looks and styling in the world. It grips, it rips, it does everything that you ever want in an amazing vehicle.
Not sponsored by GM in any way, you guys.
It really is. Anybody who jumps in this thing will say the same thing. This thing is just, it's an epic machine.
Well, and what I kind of want to ask you too, because, you know, when cars come out, there's a lot of hype and the internet can kind of blow some areas of the car out of proportion. You've owned this car for a long time. You've put a ton of miles on it now, and you've owned other Corvettes too. So like, what did it feel like when you first got it versus what does it feel like now that you've kind of grown accustomed to it?
I fell in love with this car when I first got it. I'm still in love with it right now. I mean, I've had it for just under 2 years now, and I have 33, almost 34,000 miles on it. So obviously I've driven it a lot. And it's not just road driving. I've actually been to tracks as well. This thing has many track days on it, drag strip, road courses, you name it. I do everything you can do besides drifting. I don't drift with this. I have a C6 Z06 for that. But yeah, I mean, when I first got the car, the first thing I noticed was even at low speeds, even at like normal driving on the streets, the thing sounds amazing. Stock exhaust exhaust sounds really good. Right now, I do have aftermarket exhaust on it with the AWE catback kit, but the AWE catback kit didn't make it much louder, maybe made it a little bit louder, changed the tone just a little bit, but like even stock exhaust still sounds amazing on these vehicles. I still have the big carbon ceramic brakes, obviously the big wheels on it, 20-inch up front, 21s in the rear. Forged lights are the wheels I actually have on it, so these aren't OEM wheels, but they look good. The bronze, orange, everything looks amazing. And then me and a company, Jesse Wuji Performance is my online store. We have this Z07R front lip on it. It actually produces a lot more downforce than the stock splitter.
I was wondering what this was from. I knew you didn't have the Z07 package.
Yeah, but this is way more aggressive.
Yeah, 100%. It sticks out really far from the front.
Exactly, producing a lot more downforce for the front, because the one thing I did notice when I was driving this on track was I felt like it had more understeer than other Corvettes that I've ever been used to. So definitely getting that has helped a lot, and I plan on also doing some rear wing stuff too as well, so we can get some real good downforce on the rear.
Well, and GM had to bake in a little bit of quote-unquote safety for, of course, the Corvette owners coming from a front-engine car.
Yeah.
Mid-engine cars can bite.
Oh, they can.
They'll bite you if you don't ease into it, kind of thing.
If it's a mid-engine car that tends to be more oversteery, if you make a mistake, you're gonna loop and it's gonna spin like a little top, like it's gonna be crazy. So yeah, I think them going with setting the car up in a way where it's gonna understeer a little bit more is probably the way safer bet to go, because then you see where you're going versus you going into the corner and being unpredictable and then losing it, and next thing you know, balling up a $150,000 car. So obviously it's a mid-engine car, so you have the engine back here. This cross brace kit right here is from Speedway Composites, but it's also something we sell at Jesse Wuji Performance. This intake right here is an aftermarket intake. It's an Eventuri aftermarket intake. Eventuri also makes intakes and other things for other brands. I believe they're pretty heavy in kind of the European market. But yeah, these guys made a beautiful kit, and then they made this clear plastic thing so that you could actually see the intake, and you can see all the inner workings here of this amazing Z06 drivetrain.
It really is a cool thing to look at.
Every Corvette generation offers things that are great for that particular generation. I still to this day will tell anybody the C6 Z06, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, best vehicle sports car ever made. There is nothing pound for pound, dollar for dollar that can compete with it. Now there's other vehicles that obviously can do better, but they cost a lot more. So pound for pound, dollar for dollar, C6 Z06, you can't beat it. It can drift, it can drag, it can road course, it can street drive. You can even on stock everything on a C6 Z06, you can go over 400 miles in one tank of fuel, and it's only like a 17-gallon tank. Like, what other sports car with 505 horsepower with a 7-liter V8 can go do that? Nothing can do that. Once they put the motor in the back, it changed the grip. Like, when you're in a C6Z, and maybe not as much in a C6Z, but definitely in a C7 Z06, if you get on the throttle pretty good on the street, you're just gonna be roasting it. Like, there is no other way around it. You're just roasting it, that's it. When you get on the throttle on this thing grips and rips. This thing absolutely goes. And there's just no other GM vehicle that I've been in, like any other Corvette at least, that can do that. I've driven a 458, I've obviously driven this, and the 458's a lighter car. Definitely feels a little bit more analog, a little bit more raw. This has, better updated electronics to it. 458's a great car, and I think it's a supercar. This is even more of a car. And so it's a supercar. I go to the track with a backpack, my helmet, and that's about it. And then I just put that stuff off to the side, jump on track and go. That's it. Maybe check the air pressures, bring them down a little bit. That's about it. And the car rips. So it's a very capable car on track. The amount of G-forces this thing can hold and handle through the corners, how balanced it is through the corners, how it can, the way it accelerates out of the corners, especially the low speed corners. This thing is just, it's amazing.
And from what I heard, the C7 Z06 had overheating problems.
It did. This thing does not.
Yeah.
They did, being NA, obviously it helps, but they put coolers on coolers and coolers. Every single hole in this car, I feel like, has a cooler. There's coolers here, there's coolers on the other side, coolers all up front, and air gets there. This thing stays so cool on track. When you're driving on track, you're never going to go over 180 degrees. It's crazy.
Wow.
You're literally ripping all day, won't go over 180 degrees.
That's crazy.
It's nice.
Yeah, they didn't want any more bad press.
Yeah.
Well, there you guys go. Thanks, Jesse, for bringing the car up.
For sure.
Appreciate it. Yeah, Jesse has an awesome YouTube channel. You're around some epic cars.
Yeah.
A lot of the times.
My YouTube channel is super easy to find. It's basically type in my name. It's Jesse, Jesse _IWUJI. You can probably find it right there if you put it right there.
Somewhere down there. If you guys want to, we're about to go drive Jesse's R34 GTR. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So yeah, subscribe and subscribe to Jesse's channel. We'll see you next time.